Are you recording? Okay, good. This is nail gun 201. So we had an introduction to the nail gun. We are going to go through the rest of the features and functions to keep you safe and operate this properly. So from startup here, hold the power button. Probably didn't see that. What's with the modes? We'll see that in a little bit. Single nail, that mode is I want to pull the trigger and it's only going to fire one nail when I'm depressing the nozzle. Multi-mode is I can hold the trigger and then rapid fire down here like a roofing nailer of sorts. My suggestion, stay on the single nail for now until you get really comfortable with if you're sheeting out or something like that before you switch over, okay? I got a battery with 4 bars in here, that's good. I want to talk about how to load nails and what kind of nails we're using. We're only using 2 types of nails here. Yeah, you're getting this pretty good. This is a 3 1/8 inch framer. This is for making connections between framing members. Right here, connections between framing members. So I'm nailing a plate onto a stud. That will get me far enough to make a proper connection. The other nails are 2 3/8, and these are for connecting sheeting, like our OSB, onto our framing. So don't ever use 2 3/8 for connections for framing members. The other difference in these nails, if you look close, is these are ring shanks, so they have these ribs in them, and the ring shank, they hold very tight. They don't come loose. Typically, we use ring shank for sheeting and sometimes framing too. The red that you see on here is glue. So when the nail gets fired in there, the glue heats up and that helps it hold as well. So these are called coated framing nails, 3 1/8. Whenever we're framing members like 2x6s or headers, if we're putting walls together, we're using 3-inch nails. If we're putting sheeting on, we're using 2 3/8. To get one out, so like right now I've got 3-inch in here. To get them out, you gotta, this is the release right here, so pull this back and it lifts up that cleat. Can you see that? You getting that? Mm-hmm. Right there, it's pushing, and now I can pull this up, and I've got to slide the nail cassette past, then I can pull it out with my finger. So if I'm changing out 3/8 or 3-inch to 2 3/8, I can't run both at the same time. Important to know that. So right here, that's where the finger needs to be, and then you let your finger go, and it'll push that forward, okay? We're gonna run 3-inchers to start, so I'm gonna work these out of here with my fingernail. Okay, and put 3-inchers in. And this will usually take 1 full strip. I don't know if it'll take this, probably not. Nope, won't. So I can burn up a partial. The gun will stop firing when you get down to like 2 or 3 nails left. So I'm live, I'm loaded. And then this right here, I didn't get to talk much about this, but can you get that graphic right there? Pretty good, yeah. So we can turn this dial in or out, and that has to do with how far it will drive the nail. If the nails are over driving, going too deep, then we would want to turn it this way. And if you watch what happens here, it just pushes that cleat out further, so the depth of the nail is controlled. If we're not driving far enough, then we go the other way. Usually somewhere in the middle is just fine. Cody Jinks. Okay, so making connections, we saw this in the first video. This would be kind of a standard framing connection. I want to check that I'm vertical. If I'm on a flat surface, great, but I could also use a speed square to see that I am perpendicular and vertical before I nail this in, keeping my hand back more than the distance of the nail, at least 4 inches. And then Perkins Brothers talked about this, but making sure that we are flush here. If we're not, we got to hold one member or the other up or down. This is kind of tough because it's so short, so it's just going to be floating in the air. And I would actually cheat it a little bit, slide something underneath it, just so I can get it raised up and get that perfectly flush. So I'm going to line my layout up perfectly flush. The nail is going to come out right here. If you look at the hole, it's down from the cleat quite a bit, so it's like a 1/2 inch off. So I'm going to cleat a little bit to the left of center, pull that, pop it in there, okay? My depth is about correct. To connect 2x6s, I need a minimum 2, and you can put 3 in. So I'm going to check to see, take a look at this, Reese. Right now I'm not aligned, right? No good. So I can line this up. Before I put that second nail in, which is the one that's going to hold it straight, I want to check that visually or with the speed square. I'm good right now, so hand back. I'm going to cleat just to the left of center. Another one. Let the gun rest on the ground. Saves a lot of energy. Then I'll put a third one in for good measure. Okay, and now I've got 3 in there. If I'm shooting too deep, let's back this out. I'll go all the way out, put another one in. So that is not even sunk flush. But depending on what we're putting together, if we're sheeting and it's punching through the sheeting, we might have to dial it back. You gotta read what's going on, be reactive. What's overdriven? Let's go all the way full depth. Okay, that's punching in too far. It's like over a 1/4 inch deep. And so we can't even see the head of the nail, right? So you gotta be conscientious of that. Okay, a few other functions here. That rapid fire function, I'll show you that. Switch over modes. I am now gonna pull the trigger. Nothing's happening. Nothing will happen until I depress the nozzle. But this is called bump fire. So I would get this lined up. If I'm putting drywall backer in, I'm gonna flush on this edge. This is drywall backer on the inside. We'll learn about that more later. Let's do it this way, that's a little easier. So holding the trigger depressed now, and wherever I bump is where it's gonna fire. Okay, so that's fine if you do that, but not fine if you miss. And this is what happens when we wanna go rapid fire. Now we gotta pull that nail out and fix it. So again, suggestion, go back to mode, depress. Right now in this mode, if I pull the trigger, it will not fire. There's no bump fire feature. So I have to depress the nozzle, then pull the trigger. It's just a lot safer. Stay in that mode, okay? Hanger is handy. This one works really well to go on the top of a wall, over a stud, something like that when you're not using it. You can also belt hang it if you need to do something with both hands for a little bit. Okay, we got depth setting, how to load nails, types of nails. 30-degree angled framing nail. Whoa. 30-degree angled framing nail. How do we know what it takes? On the gun, zoom in on that. This will take a 30-degree angled framing nail. That's the angle of the nail in the clips. And it'll take nail lengths from 2 to 3.5 inches, it says right there. And this is a clipped head nail. And actually it'll take from 30 to 34 degree. Can you see that? 30 degree is most common, but if you're like, oh, what does this thing use? Well, guns usually on them will tell you what they need for ammo, okay? Scene.